You know what? I feel like having a conversation. This channel's gaining less and less consistency, but it's not like anybody's actually paying attention to it, so fuck off, I'm gonna do what I want. Right now I feel like ranting. So I'm just gonna go over something that I find personally confusing. People seem to have a very specific idea about what the world should be like. They always have these ideas they can impose that are, improvements to the world, things that would make it so much better. It's like, less violence, no child molesters, no rapists, no terrorists, just make everything non-violent, just take away all conflict, do away with it, peace and harmony, But whenever I hear that, I'm struck with a very stark sort of... I hit a wall, Because the first thing that strikes me about one of those, about that is... Well, fundamentally, that's just not a sustainable state without some sort of mass influence. If you leave that alone by itself, it can't happen. There's no way where we can just, go from point A to B, erase all the history that happened up until B, and just keep it right there. And that's all that it is. There's nothing else there. It's just going to stay that way no matter what. It doesn't work like that. Because, whenever somebody has a conversation with me like that, the first thing that I think is, no, we need more of this. We need more fucked up acts committed by in every manner. But we also, the actions that humans take, applying morals to it doesn't make any sense. It cheapens everything that it really is. Or maybe it just overcomplicates it. That depends on how you view it. But let's just look at this objectively. Everything that takes place in this universe falls into two categories: constructive and destructive. Now, you can break that into all kinds of subcategories, apply morals to it, make it as subjective as you want. But on a base level, that's what you start with. You start with an action, some event that is either constructive or destructive. And so, as time goes on, you get a constructive element and a destructive element. Now, they are just existing on their own, and then they're going to come together, right? And the friction between those starkly different things, they're so unlike. When they meet, it's a very violent reaction. It's not peaceful. There's these two opposing forces, and they're going to dissipate each other. And, it's... But what happens after that? What happens after these two elements come into contact? What happens? Consider them as two wavelengths on a spectrum. When they all meet together, when they hit and they, that line just correlates perfectly, it just bursts apart, They start going away in smaller doses, but they're expanding their own capabilities. New extremes within this spectrum are being established, and it gets bigger and bigger every time that they meet. It's multiplying results, multiplying events. It just keeps on getting bigger and more fantastic. And some remarkable states of being are achieved along the way, In the case of humans, you can have a holocaust, or you can have uh, the end of a war. You can have a peace treaty. Well, something more meaningful than that, but you get my point. But for those two events to be established, you can't have no build-up, and you have to have the other sort of in place. You can't just have one of those things existing on its own, because it's brought upon by resisting that other side of the spectrum. If you can't just take away every rapist and serial killer, because if they're not there, nobody knows to oppose that sort of action, and then inherently, naturally, it should happen, and then you'll have this divide between people who like this and people who don't like this. And verily, all the differing perspectives around these things are going to be built. And then that's the only place when you can start to demonize something or support something. It has to be there first. It can't just be something you're inherently programmed to not like, because then it's meaningless. It's not based off personal experience. It's based on formatting. You didn't work to achieve this state of mind. It's just been given to you, and now your perspective is up for grabs. And what's the point then? What is the point if you're just living off of somebody else's expectation, somebody else's idea that you did not arrive at yourself? What is there to gain from that? Nothing that I see. But at the same time, that needs to be there too. You have to have the people that are thinking in the way that I'm saying you shouldn't be thinking. People need to be thinking like that, because it's a principal state of physical evolution. You have to have variety. That's important for everything to develop properly to suit its own environment and itself. You have to have variation, or else nothing will change, and then you have this constant state that isn't doing anything. It's just taking up space. And that also works psychologically. You have to have variation in the perspectives presented to you and those that you're afforded to really arrive at your own conclusions upon. If you're starting here at a point where there's been a lot of progress before, but you're just being given somewhere down the line. Somewhere down the line, you're just placed there. Alright, where are you going to go from there? It's going to be completely different from somebody who's actually lived up all that progress up until that point, but you don't have that. So you're just going to go off of this one direction that you've been presented. You're going to go into it blindly without thinking critically about it. You're just going to be going off your one directive. And so, my thinking, when I meet somebody who's, this is the perfect utopian world. The utopian world is already here. This is it. This is the closest thing to a utopia that you can objectively reach. Everything is existing. You have some of everything, You have pockets of every state of being existing at once. Everybody can be happy in their own right at some point. You got everything here. It's all interacting with every other perspective and every other state of being, and it just keeps on getting bigger and bigger. The extremes get bigger, and the gray area then becomes more and more hard to see where they stop merging, because eventually it all becomes this singular body of events that you won't be able to apply a moral thing to. Because it's not about morals. It's not about your own one perspective. It's about what it is. Huh? So yeah, that's why I think the idea of a utopia, it's debunked. It's debunked. There's no ground for you to stand on. Well, you're already in the utopia and you're in the dystopia. You are where it's all possible. You are where every single one of those ideas can be produced and sought after in endless ways. And even if you don't like the fact, it's only the fact that you're in this place you apparently don't like that's afforded you the opportunity to want to get away from it. And that's good. Strive to get away from it. Strive to do something. Do something. You know? Because then you're contributing as much as anybody can. You're contributing something to this odd stream of events that makes up our stream of consciousness that we don't fully understand. Maybe we never will. Perhaps we shouldn't ever, you know? Why does there have to be an intent to everything? There doesn't have to be an intent to everything that's happening. That's very simple. It's a very simple concept. But, you know, apparently it's lost on a lot of people. But that's okay. That's how the fucking world works, you know? But that's the gist of what I wanted to talk about. Maybe I'll do some more of this if more topics strike me as in need of me bitching about them to 3 people who might ever listen to them. And if you like it, sure, that's awesome. If this is entertaining you or making you think somehow, that's cool. That's awesome. And if you don't like this, if you're listening to this right now thinking, well, this little cunt ever shut up, well, that's even better. That's even better. That's good. I'm happy if you don't like this. I am very happy if you're tired of me talking right now. Because I'm impacting you. I'm causing thoughts to occur that wouldn't have occurred if you hadn't seen and heard this. So also, fuck man, I'm doing my universal civic duty as best I can, to whatever degree I see fit. So, yay for the haters, yay for the lovers. Big fucking difference.